Check that out. That is what neglectful storage will do to your rings. All right. Welcome everybody to the Empty Skull Ranch for another exciting installment. Well, we do a lot of things: guns, tractoring, side-by-siding, other stuff like that. But today's focus, just a quickie, is how to install rings, piston rings. Specifically, I have scoured YouTube for the specifics on a certain type of ring. And most of the time they show you how to do these typical oil seals like these. But I got a set of very old rings. The box smells like old library books. And I'll show you guys how to put those guys in, because they can be a little misleading at first. But I'll try to get this stuff off in the meantime. As you can see, I'm on the third cylinder right now, and the previous ones have fought me tooth and nail the whole time trying to get them to that point. So let me clean that piston up and we'll throw those rings on there, and I'll show you exactly what I mean about multi-parts. All right, got that cleaned up just about as good as it's going to be. It's got a couple little low spots right there. But this is for the 59 Oldsmobile. Figured I might as well use piston rings that are extremely time period correct. Anyhow, this is how the oil seal comes. So you have your oil seal itself, or your oil ring, or whatever you want to call it. It's got the little cavities on the sides right there that keep the oil in from the journals on the piston. So this guy goes in after a couple of steps. First up is this guy right here. They call it the expander. Ooh, right, the expander. So you put this guy in first. See if I can find the tag end of it. Alrighty, loop it around. There it goes. See that guy in there? Once the expander is in there, I like to put it on a neutral spot between oil journals so it doesn't have something when the compressor goes onto it, so that it doesn't nose into one of the journals and then bind up and then make a fold, and then you have a whole mess on your hands when you least want to fix it. So up next is the tightest ring of them all, which is this guy right here. See how it overlaps? You take this guy in no particular direction and you guide it on the underside of the expander. Let me get it on the right side, actually. Yeah. There we go. We can always index it after we get it on there. Guide that guy on there so you can see around the circumference. This is the tightest ring, so it is a very tough one to get on there. Get on there. There we go. On there, make sure that it is to the bottom of that expander, and it looks like it's fixing to be. Aha. So when we run into this, we need our trusty jeweler's screwdriver. So push down the expander or lift that up and just flip it over onto the bottom side. There we go. As you can see, let's get that in focus. That ring is at the bottom of the expander. Basically, it holds the expander up, so it keeps it forced to be center. All good. It jives nicely. I want to index that so that the gap is elsewhere. Actually, you know what? That'll work out just perfect. We got some coal going in the stove, so don't mind the incessant shoveling in the background. So then you take one of these guys, your regular, like a normal oil seal would be held captive. So this guy goes in next. And you orient it in there basically the same way. Towards the bottom of that expander. And take this guy right here. Free that guy up a little bit. All right, so we're going to index clock this one a little bit different from that first ring that we put in there. So just let me get a good grip on it and clock it over this way. All right. We clocked you doing 100. Actually, no, not really. All right, so as you can see, kind of got it clocked in between where there's those two rises on that expander in the back where that corrugation kind of waves down, so that it's not going to be on the upswing of one of those corrugated parts. So that way when this expands, it's going to be expanding into a void rather than expanding into a peak, if that makes any sense. But as this contracts and those two butt ends come a little bit closer, it'll be coming closer over nothing. So I'm going to get the other ring like that, which is this guy right here. I almost lost him inside of all the other rusted ones. That truly would have been a tragedy now, wouldn't it? So we're going to stick this guy right here so that we don't lose it. Now comes the oil seal itself. So this is going to be placed in just like your cast iron rings would be. So I'll clock it this way. So there's a belly in there. There's no seam in either ring right there. And I'm going to start this guy off right in here. Gently peel it back like so. Get it started. And there we go. Coming down. And there we have it. First part. Now we just need to get the top ring onto it, and we are cruising home on Easy Street. Well, maybe not cruising home on Easy Street, but so this is the other one I was telling you about. Make sure to clock that away from that gap. So I'll bring it back over this way. Basically put it on like we did the other one, but now it's got a guide, so it's going to be a little easier. Of course, the first place it wanted to go was into the other groove. Not going to the other groove yet. There we go. Come on down. There we go. There we go. The oil seal is complete. And it only took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rings to get it that way. 5 rings, 1 oil seal. Remember, these did say they were leak proof. So now let's start on the second ring up, which you would think would just be another. Traditionally, these piston rings, it's just 2 solid rings after the oil seal, which is usually only 3 pieces. It usually has the bottom thin ring, the honeycomb looking guy, and then the top ring. But nope, it's a 5-part oil seal followed by a 3-part secondary ring, which has another one of these expanders in it. So this guy goes in just like the first one, except it's a lot thinner. Goes right into there. You can see it's right in there, waiting for its mate. Let's reunite them. Alrighty. So, nothing fancy, that's just flat spring steel. That one, spring steel. Coming to America. All right, anyway. Now we got that out of my system. Flop this over, throw it in there. Throw it towards the bottom of that expander, just like we did on the first one. As you see, it's kind of towards the bottom. It will have no choice but to be when this guy goes on. So this guy has a little bevel in it, as you can see right there. They call that the scraper bevel. So that, oh, I gotta cut my thumbnail. That doesn't look too good. Anyway, as you can see, that scraper ledge on it. See it really good right over here. So that goes downwards. Now that you guys thoroughly got to see that, make sure that we're going downwards. So as it goes on its downward stroke, it scrapes the wall of the cylinder, basically clearing the chamber for the combustion, so you don't have any oil burning up and you're maintaining compression. So orient that guy, clock him over here a little bit away from that, and gently, because these are cast, you don't want to break these things. They hold their shape really well, but they're not that forgiving when it comes to side load. See that pile of rings below? Not to mention they're 62 years old too, but anyhow, we got that one right over it now. Notice the expander underneath and that bottom retainer. So we're almost done. Now you would think that the top ring would be just a single one, because come on now, we're at the top. Can't be another multi-part ring. Well, if you were thinking that, you would be completely right. It is. It's only one ring. Aha! The top ring is only one ring. So that one, but there is a caveat. See this little bevel right there? It has an inward bevel towards the inside of the ring. That bevel goes upwards. So this just goes on like any other piston ring. Notice I'm putting the two gaps together. It's because I'll clock them once I have it on there. So there we go. I'm gonna put that gap opposite, somewhere over here. Put this gap somewhere over here. Put the gap on the oil seal somewhere else. Right about there, maybe right about there, so it's over the valley. So we'll start clocking these guys over that way a little bit more. So anyhow, that was my little bit. Like I said, I had seen tons of videos about piston rings on YouTube. It's full of them, absolutely full of them. But when it came to these multi-part rings with the expanders and all that stuff, and like I said, these haven't seen the light of day since probably the 1960s. They were inside a repair shop that got sold off, and they were selling some of the contents. And I needed rings for the 1959 Olds, so I figured, well, I could get a nice fancy set of new ones. Probably would have been the right idea. But nope, me being stubborn, wanted to run original equipment from the same era. So anyway, I'm going to go throw this into the block, and hopefully we'll have more videos of this car actually running and driving. And hopefully I can say, remember those rings that we talked about? Yep, they're in there, and they're doing a hell of a job. All right, guys, see you again later.